I declare the 123rd Annual General Meeting of the SAIMM open as in terms of our Constitution, and we have a quorum present. Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon, everyone. We are pleased to welcome you all to our online Annual General Meeting. Please post any questions that you may have in the Q and Answer tab, and we will address them during the proceedings. Unfortunately, Mzila Mtanjani is not able to be here this afternoon, and Isabel Geldenhuys will take over some of the duties that he would have fulfilled. I extend a special welcome to our guests and representatives of our sister institutes and other associations, also to the recipients of awards, senior members of industry, Honorary Life Fellows, past presidents, our members and other guests who are online this afternoon. I would like to do a special welcome to presidents of our sister institutes as follows. The Association of Mine Resident Engineers of South Africa, President Zachariah Tsotsetse. The Engineering Council of South Africa, President Cyril Gamedi. The Geological Society of South Africa, the President Sifiso Siwile. Minerals Council South Africa, Senior Executive Nikisi Lesufi. The Mine Ventilation Society of South Africa, President Martinus van Wyk. South African Institute of Electrical Engineers, President Say Gora. The South African Institute of Chemical Engineers, President David Lockhart. The South African National Institute of Rock Engineering, represented by myself. Women in Mining South Africa, represented by Chairperson Tabile Makhala. Past presidents attending: Richard Beck, Alfred Brown, Larry Kramer, Roger Dixon, and Andre Garbers Craig, Rodney Jones, Gijs Landman, Alistair McFarlane, Cuthbert Musungwini, Selo Ndlovu, Rod Pickering, Jim Porter, Dick Stacey, Neelan Funamova, Willem van Niekerk, and Rams Ramokgopa. And I'll hand over to Isabel.
Thank you, William. We move on to confirmation of the minutes. The minutes of the previous annual general meeting were published in the September 2019 issue of the journal and sent to all members. May I please have a proposer via the chat tab that the minutes as printed is accepted and is a true reflection of the meeting held on the 15th of August 2019. May I please have a proposer? Thank you. Alistair and Rodney, I will take that as a proposer and a seconder. Thank you very much. Obituaries. It is my sad duty to announce the deaths of the following members of the Institute. Fellows: Edward John De Silva, William David Northrop. Retired Fellows: Lester Glenn Dennis Napier. Members: Grant John Pitt, and a retired member, Hans Gert Gastro. I ask you all to please observe a moment's silence in memory of the deceased and extend condolences to all the bereaved. Thank you. Our next order of business is Honorary Life Fellowship of the Institute. The SAIMM has decided to award Honorary Life Fellowship to Stephen Matthew Ruprecht for his outstanding service and support of the SAIMM over many years. Stephen's certificate will be couriered to him to honor this Honorary Life Fellowship. Thank you very much, Stephen, for your excellent contributions. And now for the big award, Brigadier Stokes Memorial Award. The Brigadier Stokes Memorial Award was instituted in 1980 to commemorate the outstanding contribution to the South African mining industry made by Brigadier R.S.G. Stokes, an honorary life fellow and past president of this institute. This is the premier award of the South African Institute of Mining and Metallurgy and is made to an individual for the very highest achievement in the South African mining and metallurgical industry. It gives me great pleasure to announce that the award for 2020 is to be made to Mr. John Roger Dixon. Andrew van Zyl will be reading the citation for Mr. Dixon. Over to you, Andrew.
Good afternoon, everybody. It gives me great pleasure to read out or to be part of this award, and also to recognize Roger on behalf of the SAIMM. Roger was born in 1950 and grew up in Cumbria, northwest England. Much of his youth was spent playing football or soccer, and he was captain of both his school and university teams. In 1969, he began a 3-year Bachelor of Science degree with mining honours at the Royal School of Mines, Imperial College, London. During his studies, Roger played in the Imperial College First 11 soccer team. Roger emigrated to South Africa in 1971 at the age of 21. He joined Western Holdings, an Anglo-American mine, as a graduate mining engineer and continued with his love for soccer by playing for the Welkom Real Hearts, the team from Tabong Township, and representing them in the Castle Cup at Kings Park Stadium in Durban. As part of Roger's career development at Anglo-American, he worked at Nova Lima Mine in Brazil, Anglo-American Head Office, Western Deep Levels at Mponeng, President Steyn or Bambanani, and Saiplat or Masimong. He progressed up to senior management and then moved to Anglo-Vaal as a consulting mining engineer, where he worked on the Sun and Target projects. This was followed by a 2-year stint at Metrex. Roger experienced the challenges of seismic events, rock bursts, and underground fatalities, and this highlighted for him the central importance of safety in mining. The concern was to lead him into some vital engagements much later in his career, notably helping to negotiate the country's Mine Health and Safety Act in the 1990s. Roger continued with his first passion, soccer, playing well into his 30s for Wanderers in the 2nd Division and for the Chamber of Mines in the National Currie Cup. He loved their interaction with teammates and would often talk football in the stopes with the underground workers. Roger entered mining consulting in 2002, first spending 2 years as a director of Turgis Consulting, before joining SRK Consulting in 2004. At SRK, Roger made a major contribution, serving as a partner, head of the mining SBU, and as chairman from 2010 to 2015. He provided technical guidance on mine valuation, due diligence studies, and engineering studies, as well as strategic guidance for the company as a whole. Now semi-retired, he is an independent consultant and continues to act as a corporate consultant to SRK. He has been actively involved with the SAIMM for many years, and he served as president for the term 1998 to 1999. He also became indirectly involved in promoting mineral investment in South Africa through the sphere of reporting standards. At the 1996 PDAC conference in Toronto, he was reminded of the importance that investors attach to the integrity of geological data advertised by mining firms when raising capital. At that stage, some countries had instituted reporting codes to enhance the level of integrity, but not yet in South Africa. To assist in remedying the situation, Roger helped found and also chaired the South African Mineral Resource Committee, which developed and published the original SAMREC code in 2000, as well as the revised version in 2007. He is currently one of 2 South African representatives on the Committee for Mineral Reserves International Reporting Standards, CRISCO, an organization which he chaired in 2009 and 2010. He remains the CRISCO representative on SAMREC. He played a leading role in developing local and international reporting standards through SAMREC and CRISCO. He has represented CRISCO since 2007 on the expert group on resource management and its technical advisory group, which is a subcommittee of the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe Sustainable Energy Division that meets annually in Geneva. He has presented widely on the relationship between the United Nations Framework Classification and the CRISCO International Reporting Template. Roger was the main intermediary between CRISCO and the mineral industry professionals in Kazakhstan who developed the structures and the reporting code that met CRISCO requirements and resulted in Kazakhstan becoming the 10th member of CRISCO in June 2016. CRISCO membership was part of the 100-step plan to modernize the Kazakhstan economy, a joint initiative between the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, and the Ministry of Investment and Development of the Republic of Kazakhstan. This is just one recent example of his extensive travels and his efforts to promote responsible mining and consistent reporting. These travels have also taken him to China, to Chile, to India, to Turkey, and to many other countries. Roger has also stressed the importance of addressing infrastructural problems in the African mining industry. At the Investing in Africa Mining Indaba in 2011, he spoke on how Africa could benefit from presenting solutions to and strategies for the continent's infrastructure challenges, along with showcasing its investment opportunities. Furthermore, Roger is a proponent of earning and maintaining the social license to mine, which includes engaging from a project's earliest stages with governments and communities to optimize local participation and benefit. He has left a lasting legacy in mining, where he's made positive impacts at the individual and corporate levels. He has mentored many in the industry, and I'm very grateful that I'm one of those people. And he has imparted his high ethical standards wherever he has worked. He has also endeavored to bring those high standards to reporting, and this has contributed to all of us working in a more reputable industry. His work on local and international reporting codes has also ensured that South Africa remains an influential participant in mining code development and in reporting. On a personal note, Roger married Teresa in 1974 and has 3 children, Natalie, Julie, and Bruce. He is also a much-loved grandfather to Isabella, Connor, and Joseph. It's very, very proud to acknowledge Roger this morning, and I wish him all the best, and I say he's a very deserving candidate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Mr. Dixon's medal was presented to him prior to the AGM, and he will now make a short acceptance speech after Andrew's very nicely presented citation. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you, Isabel, and thank you, Andrew, for those kind words. I'm immensely proud and regard it as an honor to be the 41st recipient of this prestigious award. And I'm also very honored to be the first one to receive it in a virtual meeting. Let's hope that it isn't interrupted by load shedding. I did intend to give you the full history of my career and mention all the people I've had the pleasure of working with over the 49 years in the South African and international mining industry. However, time does not permit that, and to mention them all and not leave anybody out would be impossible. Over the years, I've been fortunate to work with some great teams, formed many strong friendships, and made so many fantastic memories. I cannot thank them all enough. My career, as Andrew said, was in 2 parts. The first 20 years being doing the hard yards in deep level gold mines with Anglo-American Gold and Uranium Division. And then the second 30 years in Johannesburg in more relaxed head office positions. During this stressful period of lockdown, I have, in moments of introspection, wondered why I enjoyed the first half of my career so much. And my mind went back to Western Deep Levels, which became Savuka and Tautona, where my family and I went at the end of the 1970s. And Western Deeps, as Andrew alluded to, was not an easy place in those days, and it was known for seismic activity, rock bursts, and multiple fatalities. But I loved every minute that I was there, and apart, of course, from the fatalities. And that was because it was a case of all of us in the team against the elements. We all had to pull together, black and white, from the top to the bottom. It didn't matter. In the second part of my career, I started with Anglophile in Johannesburg, which was a very different scenario. And we spent much time trying to develop a mine fit for the 21st century. And I believe we did that, but circumstances changed considerably after the company was sold in 2004. That was the time that I became involved with the SAIMM, starting with the Johannesburg branch and then joining office bearers. And as it is now, the SAIMM was trying to remain relevant in a rapidly changing mining industry. And at that time, we addressed race and gender diversification in office bearers and the membership. And looking at the composition of office bearers today and over the recent years, I think we did a reasonable job. And at that time, we started to write the SAMREC code, culminating in the first South African Mineral Reporting Code launched in April 2000, followed by the Readers Panel and South Africa joining the Committee for Mineral Reserves International Reporting Standards, better known as CRISCO. And that signaled South Africa, with its long history of mining, had finally joined the likes of Australia and Canada on the international stage for reserves and resource reporting. And the membership of CRISCO has taken me and SAMREC to most corners of the world, as the membership of CRISCO has grown from 5 original members to 15. And I have been immensely proud that South Africa has been at the forefront of that initiative. From 2004, I had the pleasure of working at SRK Consulting with consultants from a wide spectrum of disciplines, some of whom were and still are world leaders in their respective fields. And at SRK, it didn't matter whether you were the chairman or the office cleaner, whether you were black or white, whether you're male or female, you were treated with respect. And it was a really great place to work. However, the most important team in my working career has been my family, my dear wife of 46 years, Teresa. I don't know how she's put up with me for that long. And the 3 children, Natalie, Julie, and Bruce. And they had to endure all the moving from mine to mine in the early days, all the long nights when I was involved with mine fires and rescue operations, and in the latter years, all the times I was away on site visits or attending international meetings for days on end. And to them, I will be eternally grateful. But we did spend lots of time together. The mines weren't that bad a place to grow up, and they seem to have turned out okay, and I'm very proud of them. As I receive this award, I'm conscious of the fact that there are many young South Africans who have chosen the mining and metallurgical industry as their future career, but whom have currently been unable to find a job or have been retrenched. And it is to those people that I dedicate this award. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dixon. Over to you, William.
Thank you, Isabel. It gives me great pleasure to announce the following awards, medals and certificates. Arrangements will be made to have the medals and certificates couriered to the recipients, and in some cases they have requested the opportunity to receive them at various events when it is safe to do so again. Firstly, the 50-year membership awards, and this is with effect from 1 July 1969 to 30 June 1970. And the recipients are Richard Darnley Beck, Michael Irvin Britton, William Norman Cartner, Christian Ludwig de Jong, William Andrew Hustrelid, William Robert Judd, Conrad Peter Kramers, Felix Henry Lancaster, Clive Frere Knight Polton, Michael John Harvey Tonkin, Jacobus Cornelius Gideon van der Kolf, Leon Versiel, Colin Hewitt Wiggett. So congratulations to all the 50-year membership awards. And next, it's the awards for transactions published in the journal. So all transactions published in the journal from March 2019 to February 2020 by members of the Institute were considered. So first we have 1 gold medal, and gold medals are awarded for papers that are of a world-class standard and judged to be publications that will become key reference in their mining or metallurgy field in the future. So for their transaction paper published in the January 2020 journal entitled "Do Stopes Contribute to the Seismic Source?", the award goes to the authors L.M. Lindsay, M.W. Hildyard, S.M. Spottiswood, and J. Vesseler. The authors are online this afternoon, and a special congratulations to all of them. And so we have several silver medals, and these are awarded for papers which make a major contribution to the professions of mining and metallurgy and to the prestige of the Institute. So for his transaction paper published in the March 2019 journal entitled "Coal Pillar Strength Analysis Based on Size at the Time of Failure," the author of this paper is J.N. van der Merwe, and Neelan is also online this afternoon. And congratulations, Neelan. And next, it's for the transaction paper published in the October 2019 journal entitled "Modeling of Generic Sequences for Bore and Fill Mining." And the authors of this paper are D.P. Roberts, G.F. Hoffman, R.N.L., and L.J. Skippers. So congratulations to all the authors who have joined us online. And next, it's for the transaction paper published in the December 2019 journal entitled "Spider Webs and Rock Burst Support. Have rock engineers something to learn from spiders?" And this goes to T.R. Stacey. So congratulations, Dick. And then next, for the transaction paper published in the December 2019 journal entitled "A Risk-Based Methodology to Improve the Definition of Geotechnical Sectors in Slope Design." And the authors are M. Bester, T.R. Stacey, I. Besson, C. Kuchelenberg, P. Krius, L. Lorig, A. Cabrera. So congratulations to all the authors who have joined us online. So next we have the presentation of student prizes, and the following students at the universities of the Witwatersrand, Pretoria, and Johannesburg received the SAIMM Prestige Prize. These are students judged by their departments to be the best final year students for 2020. And from the University of the Witwatersrand, for metallurgy, it's N. Malachlela, and for mining, it's M. Zulu. From the University of Pretoria, for metallurgy, it's H. Steenkamp, and for mining, J.P. Mokhanya. From the University of Johannesburg, for metallurgy, it's B.I. Marakalala. The student prizes for the University of Cape Town Mineral Processing, the University of Stellenbosch Mineral Processing, and Cape Peninsula University of Technology Chemical Engineering will be presented by the Western Cape branch. Next, we have the SAIMM 5-Star Incentive Program and top advertiser in the journal. So the SAIMM 5-star incentive program was introduced in 2015 to thank members who contribute to the growing membership of the SAIMM and to provide additional benefits to fellows and members of the SAIMM. I would like to announce the following winners. The top 5 proposers are Wens Kutatekwa, Donovan Munro, Gordon Cresswell, Darius Muma, and Marek Dvorzanowski. The top 5 referees of papers published in the journal are Stephen Ruprecht, Francois Malan, Marcus Evier, Paul Den Hout, Andrew Kinghorn, and Richard Minnitt. The author who submitted and published the most number of papers in the journal is Cuthbert Musungwini. And the top advertiser in the journal is Weir Minerals Africa, and we would like to thank them for their continued support of the journal. So the trophy was received by Mr. Grant Ramsden, Regional Managing Director, on behalf of Weir Minerals Africa. So congratulations to all of you. Okay. Now we're going to do the annual report and accounts, and as Mzila Mtanjani is unable to attend this afternoon, we will play a recording of him presenting the annual report.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our virtual AGM. Special greetings and welcome to our guests who have chosen to share their presence during this occasion with our members. Let me recognize representatives of our sister institutes and other associations, acknowledge the recipients of the recognition awards, our senior members of the industry who, let me add, remain youthful and energetic, honorary life fellows, past presidents, our members, and other guests who are online this afternoon with us. Firstly, let me apologize for being further virtually an expression I created, removed from you today, and addressing you through this video recording. The AGM has unfortunately coincided with the results report of my employer, Exaro Resources, as we released our interim results earlier today. As you watch this video, we are engaged with investors and delivering our story, a very pleasing one, I might add, in a very difficult period. The COVID-19 pandemic has left nowhere to hide for anyone, individual, company, or even an institution, such as the South African Institute of Mining and Metallurgy. And we have had to change and adapt to the new reality that is unfolding every day. Others, including private companies, large and small, will not be so lucky, and we may never see them again. SAIMM has been experiencing financial challenges even before the pandemic. However, we have survived through withdrawals from our investment portfolio for a total of 3 million rands during the financial year. Despite several cost management initiatives, we ended the year at a loss of approximately 2.5 million rands. We will have to continue to refocus our operations to streamline and restructure as we progress through the coming year and continue to adapt. Yes, continue to adapt, because we have started, and I believe that with the dedication and resolve of the team and continuing support of the council and members, we have a future to look forward to. Why do I believe this? Let me share some highlights from the detailed report, which you will get a chance to read at your convenience. Firstly, I'm pleased with the progress relating to the revision and the development of the Institute's value proposition. This has been long overdue, as we have seen our membership decline over the years and members questioning what's in it for them. Under the leadership of Alistair McFarlane, what we will offer to members will be exciting and rebuild the value of the SAIMM for a new normal. Secondly, we very quickly got out of the blocks with establishing our professional development offering on technical education on a digital platform, our webinars when lockdowns were instituted. The membership appetite and response has been encouraging, hopefully not because they were for free, but because of the quality of content and delivery, not to mention the convenience of receiving this education at your desk. We will continue to evolve in this space and soon get to a point where the revenue generation complements in-person conferencing when we do go back to that form. Thirdly, we have a world-class journal publication that is held in high regard in the industry for the quality of its publications. The publication remains a critical source of information and knowledge for students and professionals on innovations in the mining and metallurgy industry. The decision to go digital will not diminish the status in a world which has recently been forced by the Rona, as it's colloquially referred to operate largely on a digital platform. The journal should, in fact, have even better reach in terms of circulation. My fourth highlight, we are truly embracing technology. We are in the process of installing a new membership engagement platform which is totally digital, which will make it seamless to interact with members and manage the related administration. We're excited about this prospect and the difference that it will make to our members and office staff. My highlight number 5, their strength in numbers. I'm referring to our network of kindred bodies, the GMPA, the Minerals Council South Africa and others, who play an important role in the development and sustainability of the SAIMM, and we acknowledge the value of these relationships in our value proposition design and development. The current state of the economy and the mining industry, more than ever, dictate a strengthening of these relationships. Collaboration in engaging with policy in order to make this industry great again. Mining is a primary industry with the ability to catalyze industrial development. To achieve this national goal, we have to stand up, we have to stand together and assertively put our case forward to policymakers and greater society in general of the positive role we have in people's lives. With the growing uptake and understanding of environmental, social and governance issues amongst investors, a demonstration of the positive difference that mining can make to our society when observed through the ESG lens will attract the requisite capital required to grow Southern Africa's mining industry. But we have to stand together. I've left the best for last in terms of the highlights, and that is the need for continuing transformation of the Institute and the broader mining industry. We have referred to this drive within the SAIMM as diversity and inclusion, a term that you will more and more hear about. I prefer to think about it strategically, but also practically as human capital development. Whether or not we think of it through legislative requirements and quotas, in the end, as deemed leaders of the industry and the country, our progress will depend on education and skills of the people of South Africa, African, colored, Indian and white. And in addition, accepting our history of discrimination, the deliberate and conscious inclusion of women, and especially Black women and our youth in all economic opportunities and upliftment in society. We have a demographic dividend that is the envy of many other and especially first world countries. We have 51% of our population as women, and youth constitute about 1/3 of the population. And therefore, the role of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, as well as the YPC, the Young Professional Council, must be seen from the perspective of the future and sustainability of the SAIMM. So in closing, let me say how time has flown by, but it's perhaps because I've been having so much fun. My tenure has been great with the SAIMM as president, but short. I've built new relationships and strengthened others, and in this environment of collaboration, this is a great reward from the role, which I would not have earned otherwise. As often happens with these roles, one commences with ambitious goals. However, in retrospect, given the one-year duration of the term and the time constraints imposed by other work demands, it would have required an enormous amount of determination and divine intervention, I might add, to achieve some of these goals. I hope to continue to play a role within the SAIMM and influence the achievement of the goals of the Institute. It has been a fulfilling 12 months, and I'm grateful to the SAIMM members for the opportunity of being president for this past 12 months. I wish to thank the members of the office bearers for their support and dedication to the Institute, as well as the leadership and guidance of the council members. I'm indebted to Ms. Sam Muller and her team in the administration of the office of the SAIMM. Sam's experience with the SAIMM office has been invaluable during my term, and I thank her for the support she has provided. To our partners, associates, and broader networks, both locally and internationally, may our combined strengths take us into a future with ever-evolving challenges and opportunities to create for our members the best value there is to offer. Thank you very much, and I wish you well for the rest of the proceedings.
Okay, so next I will call on Mr. Vaughan Duke to present a summary of the financial report.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is not a positive report. You know, the important figures, can we go to the slide, I think, if you've got a slideshow for me? These are the important figures for the year ending June 2020. And it shows that we have recorded a 32% year-on-year drop in income, a containment of expenditure, but worst of all, a net loss of 4.6 million. And this is on top of last year's loss of 3.7 million. Go to the next slide. Income has dropped to a new low of 9.9. And this graph illustrates how dependent this institute is on generating income through our technical programs committees. We had to cancel our conferences following the global outbreak. And the TPCs responded quickly with online webinars, but this does not really address the loss in planned income. On the expenditure side, is that the next slide? Thank you. Our management staff have done well to contain expenditure to the extent reported, but payments have already been made on various items related to conferences that were indeed cancelled. Our cost of sales reduced from 12.2 million for the year to 6.8 million for this previous year, which is a good 44.2% containment of costs. On the cash flow management, your staff have worked hard, and I thank them for that. They've also worked on the debtors book. So total trade and other receivables stand at 1.8 million now, as opposed to the 2.9 million of last year. So that certainly helped us with cash flow. Numerous cutbacks were implemented in response to this pandemic, and these have been included with further adjustments to enable a breakdown or break-even budget for next year. We are uncertain of our revenue projections because our TPs have started to explore and develop new ways of operating. The budget balances cutting back with maintaining sufficient capacity for upside potential. So it's a case of watch the space. We're going to have to manage it carefully as we go through this coming year. The loss of 4.6 million follows last year's deficit of 3.7 million. And the challenge now will be to manage our cash as we navigate through this year with clarity on the way forward, only unfolding as we progress. We need to avoid having to dip further into our savings. Let's go to the next graph. I covered this. Investment portfolio. These savings are an investment which despite material market volatility over the past year, still performed adequately with income from dividends approaching 1 million. And that was a nice surprise. The investment decreased during February and March 2020, but has since recovered together with global markets in the main. The year-end 2020 closing balance was 24.2 million, an overall net decrease of 4.2 million since last year. After income from dividends was about 1 million, as I said. Income from interest was about 1 million. A further value adjustment of 1.4 million and a drawdown of 3.5 million. That was to compensate for the serious loss. Moving on to non-TPC activities. The revenue and costs linked to non-TPC related activities are presented in the table. Advertising revenue dropped significantly and income from subscriptions decreased by about 5%. 286 members were removed from our membership register due to non-payments. We now have 2,646 paying members. Expenses on member benefits included subscription to the technical library, subscriptions to One Mind organization, sponsorships to the student colloquium, our share of SAMRAC and SAMVAL's costs, and the annual banquet and AGM, which I think some of these things will be cutting back, or we have cut back in this new budget. So in closing, I wish to thank Sam Muller, your office manager, her accountant, Dennis, Makondisa, and all of the staff working in the SAIMM offices for their hard work while dealing with budget constraints and some of the changes we've had to make fairly quickly. I also appreciate the contribution of our auditor, Genesis Chartered Accountants, and thank them for their services over the past 12 months. Finally, we must not forget Decamper Ruglu, who manages our investment portfolio. She has materially grown our investment savings over the years, and we thank her for this and performed well in this past year. William, I want to thank you too for standing up and looking after the Treasury for the coming year. Thank you, everybody. That's the end of the financial report.
Thank you, Vaughan. And I'll now hand over to Isabel to continue with the next session.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, before we go ahead, I just need to ask for a proposer and a seconder for the adoption of the annual financial statements, which you all have at hand. Can we do so on the chat screen? Right, there we go. Thank you, Alistair, Zelmia, and Al Martinez, and a whole lot. Thanks, Steve. So we can sign these off.
Thank you, Vaughan. Thank you, William. It is now my job to continue with the declaration of office bearers and council members for the period 2020-21. On behalf of Mzila Mjani, I have pleasure in announcing that in accordance to the clause 3.5, 5.1 and 5.2 of the Constitution, the retiring council has elected the following office bearers for the ensuing year. As President, Vaughan Duke. President-elect, Isabel Geldenhuys. Senior Vice President, Zelmia Botha. Junior Vice President, William Jochen. Immediate Past President, Mzila Mjani. Honorary Treasurer, William Jochen, and co-opted member, Professor Selo Ndlovu. In terms of the election of ordinary members of council, I have to report that in terms of clause 3.2.7 of the Constitution and bylaw B 2.1, there were 14 vacancies and the following members are now declared elected. Bekir Jenk, Gary Lane, Katlego Letswalo, Tsepo Mola, Godners Njoba, Bungi Msulengu, Stephen Ruprecht, Naveen Singh, Andrew Smith, Michael Solomon, Sam Spearing, Martinez van der Bank, Andrew van Zyl, Simon Toes, and Jean Walls. And in terms of bylaw F1 Point 7 of the Constitution, the chairpersons of the branches are as follows: Dani Jensen, Johannesburg; Nkoa Namate, Namibia; Fabian Nieuwenhuizen, Northern Cape; Caesar Uludag, Pretoria; Alan Nesbitt, Western Cape; Darius Muma, Zambia; Clara Zadoma, Zimbabwe; and Kristen Mini, Zululand. The chairperson of the South African National Council on Tunnelling, SANCOT, is Mr. Ron Klutzek. The chairpersons will serve as ex officio members of council. And in terms of bylaw I, which governs the Young Professional Council, clause 4.1 states that the affairs of the YPC shall, subject to the control of the council, be managed by the YPC members constituted as follows: Chairperson, Shepard Majengwa; Vice Chairperson, Adrian Chibaba; Secretary, Anthony Mello; Immediate Past President, Kangata Dabula. The Chairperson and Vice President Chairperson will represent the YPC on the SAIMM Council. Clause I 4.4.6 states that the YPC must consist of a minimum of 14 and a maximum of 18 members who are 35 years old and younger. The following members have been duly elected and ratified by the Council: Wesley Banda, Tenase Nashe Sekomo, Himidembe Hingari, Roderick Kemani, Tabiso Kwenane, Katlego Letsoalo, Tala Mohamedi, Tanyeratswa Mapihire, Tsepo Mola, Adelaide Moganedi, Vision Masapungura, Sishenko Mleko, Sancho Noni, Denio Ratsiti, and Makete Thema. William will be taking over the announcements from here on. I thank you all for your attention, and I congratulate all the elected members. Thank you, William.
Thank you, Isabel. The following past presidents have signified their willingness to serve on council for the ensuing year: Nick Bartza, Richard Beck, Roger Dixon, Rodney Jones, Alistair McFarlane, Cuthbert Musingwini, Selo Ndlovu, Rams Ramokhopa, Mike Rogers, Don Ross Watts, Gordon Smith, Willem van Niekerk. I would like to thank those past presidents who have indicated that they cannot serve on council for the next year for all their time, effort, and dedication in the past. I would also like to record our thanks to past presidents for their continued support. I can't congratulate all those elected, and I thank those who have agreed to serve another term of office. Okay, next I'll declare the honorary vice presidents of the SAIMM for the 2020-2021 session. The SAIMM have a long-standing arrangement of inviting the President of the Minerals Council of South Africa, as well as the Ministers of the Departments of Mineral Resources and Energy, Science and Innovation and Trade and Industry to serve as honorary vice presidents. These positions are intended to create closer collaboration between our organizations so that we may better serve the needs of our members and the industry. These positions will be filled as follows for the period 2020-2021. The Minerals Council of South Africa will be Mr. Mxolisi Ngojo. The Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, Minister Gwedi Mantashe. The Department of Science and Innovation, Minister Blade Nzimandi. Department of Trade and Industry, Minister Rob Davies. Next, the election of the auditors and honorary legal advisors. I propose for the year 2020-2021, I propose that Genesis be appointed as auditors for the coming year. I also propose that MH attorneys be appointed as honorary legal advisors. May I have a proposer and supporter via the chat? Okay, thank you, Cuthbert and Martinez. Next, it's SAIMM integration to my membership. We are excited to announce that the SAIMM Council has approved the upgrading of the current SAIMM membership database, and on the 1st of September 2020, the SAIMM will launch a new digital membership experience on the My Membership platform. We are leveraging on technology to bring more of our services and offerings closer to our members. As a member of the Institute, you will soon be able to access a self-serve portal where you can apply for or transfer to a new membership grade, register for events, and receive your CPD membership immediately after the event, view exclusive member-only content on demand, and transact securely online, and much more. This initiative is the latest in our shift towards being a digital-enabled, member-focused institute. We will communicate more information about this initiative in the next few weeks. Next, we have the Outgoing Presidential Award, which is a commemorative plaque and marks Mr. Mzila Mthenjani's year in office, and it was and this was couriered to him. We will now listen to a recorded message from Mzila.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to spend the next couple of minutes as outgoing president to share some of the highlights of my tenure. When I stepped into the role as president of the SAIMM, I had no doubts that it would be a busy, if somewhat difficult year, especially given the state of the mining industry and financial performance of the Institute. But nothing could have prepared me for the tumultuous year ahead. However, having said that, it was also a year when I was tested in my personal capacity and as president of the SAIMM. There is no perfect time to lead. However, every leadership opportunity always offers unforeseen chance to learn new things, not only contextual issues, but about oneself as well. As such, both the Institute and I are coming out of this past financial year with a feeling of renewing strength from the changes implemented in response to financial constraints and impact of the pandemic, referred to as the COVID-19. I firmly believe that the occurrence of the pandemic calls for a global reset. It has manifested in a disruption to everything we have come to know and we have come to build about human life on this Mother Earth. And to a large degree, it has resurfaced those issues that we have taken for granted for a long time. The cumulative and systemic impact of the pandemic, adding to the increasing and emergence and undeniable impact of climate change, will be with us for the rest of our lives. Therefore, we need to learn to live with the Rona and adapt to climate change, hopefully not too far above the global average of 1.5 degrees Celsius, which will result in constraints on several of the resources we depend on for our lives and livelihoods. I've looked forward to writing the monthly letters for the President's Corner, maintaining the consistent theme on leadership. This is one of my favorite highlights about the role. And focusing on the leadership theme, it was inevitable for a number of reasons. Namely, and the first one, being our socio-political context, which has been calling for leadership to resolve the challenges of the economic development and social progress. And then secondly, the growth of the mining industry and its supporting services, such as minerals processing and metal production, has been shrinking and requires renewed consciousness to the required reforms to legislation to arrest this decline. And lastly, as president, the role demanded that we address the challenges and take advantage of the opportunities encountered by the Institute in the past year. The capability of the organization truly provides the opportunity for application to the growth of the industry. And so in conclusion, looking back, it's amazing how time has flown by. But this is because I've been having so much fun. I've built new relationships and strengthened others. And given this environment of collaboration, this has been a great reward from the role which I would not have earned otherwise. As often happens with these roles, one commences with ambitious goals. However, in retrospect, given the one-year duration of the term and the time constraints imposed by other work obligations, it would have required both determination and divine intervention to achieve some of these goals. I had set out to establish a work stream on economic or mine succession planning, the topic of my inaugural presidential address in 2019, which relates to repurposing of used mine infrastructure and rehabilitated land. Whilst this work stream has not been established, efforts have continued, particularly within my employer Exaro, and most likely other South African companies in this regard. With time, real examples of the impact of this approach to post-mine economic activities on community development will emerge. I'd also hoped for further inroads into our transformation scorecard performance, particularly at the leadership level in terms of the office bearers and the council, both in terms of racial and gender representation. The transformation of the Institute will not happen organically. It will require deliberate action on the part of the President, the OBs, and the Council members. Much more effort is required in order for the Institute to grow and remain relevant to a changed South African context. I hope to continue to play a role within the SAIMM and influence the achievement of these and other goals of the Institute. It has been a fulfilling 12 months, and I'm grateful to the SAIMM members who demonstrated their confidence in me to nominate me for the role of President for the past period. I wish to thank the members of the office bearers for their support and dedication to the Institute, as well as the leadership and guidance of the Council members. Thank you very much to all who supported me during my tenure. May our combined strengths take us into a future.
Okay. My final very pleasant duty is to introduce your new president, Mr. Vaughan Duke, and I'll read his curriculum vitae. Vaughan was born in 1962 in Boksburg, where his father worked as a geologist on ERPM Foran mines. He grew up with two younger sisters and a brother. Geologists move around a lot, and so although Vaughan started his schooling at Christian Brothers College in Boksburg, he completed grade 7 at Princess Primary in Krugersdorp before attending Krugersdorp High to grade 11. Circumstances changed again, and he ended up matriculating at Glenwood High School in Durban, where he made a wise choice to stop playing rugby and instead achieved a university exemption. Vaughan was accepted by the University of the Witwatersrand to sit for a BSc Honours degree in mining engineering and graduated in 1986. He then worked for Comro for 6 months before moving to Zimbabwe to work for his father in a small business that researched, pegged and packaged small mining prospects for lease and or sale to larger companies. Geologists and mining engineers traditionally disagree, so Vaughan accepted a job with the cementation company Zimbabwe Limited to work on a shaft sinking contract at Delny Mine, which was Zimbabwe's deepest mine at the time. He was 25 years old and had to learn quickly because it was the 6-meter diameter shaft that was being sunk without the help of a bushman or a cactus crab. He did learn fast and was soon appointed to run the site as a site manager, after which he was transferred to a large civil tunnelling contract at Darwindale near Honorary. Vaughan's marriage to his university sweetheart Lynn in 1988 was followed by his return to South Africa in 1989, where he joined Anglovaal Limited to work at its Hartbeesfontein gold mine. He was moved to Lorraine Gold Mines in 1992 to work as the section manager at the number 1 shaft for Angloval's new target project. He returned to Harties on promotion in 1995 and was transferred to head office in 1997. He worked as the Group Mining Engineer, General Manager, Technical Services and Project Manager for the Northern Free State Expansion Project until Angloval was absorbed by African Rainbow Minerals in 2004. Vaughan also completed an MBA with distinction at the Gordon Institute of Business Science of the University of Pretoria during this period. Vaughan established SAIMM Mining Solution Pty Limited in 2004 after working out of rented offices in Marshalltown, purchased the building in Rivonia in 2008. SAIMM Mining is now well established, and Vaughan is privileged and blessed to be working with a fantastic group of colleagues who have chosen to remain with SAIMM Mining. They have been successfully working together for many years. Vaughan has been associated with the Southern African Institution of Mining and Metallurgy since his university days. He is now a fellow and has contributed to numerous committees and working groups. Vaughan is a recognized project management professional and a registered professional with the Engineering Council of South Africa. Vaughan has been married to Lynn for 32 years. Their eldest son, Michael, is studying chemistry at Wits. Their daughter is currently completing her degree at LISOF, that's the London Institute of Fashion. And the youngest, Daniel, is in his second year at the University of Pretoria studying mechanical engineering. Lynn and Vaughan cherish and prioritize their time together and are often found cycling in the cradle. So, Vaughan, congratulations. Please go ahead.
Thank you for that, William. I'm now going to need to share the screen from this side, Sam. There we go. Right, I think we're up and running. Thank you and good afternoon, everybody. Just need to adjust the screen here a bit. I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to talk to you about your institute and leadership. And I do this at a time when our institute and our country are facing significant challenges. I'll first outline where we are as an organization and then talk about how we are responding before I discuss leadership, morals and ethics, and how we can all contribute to a better future. So let's start with our current situation. Your organization finds itself on a burning platform in a turbulent environment that is exposed to globalization, where we are competing with yesterday's technologies while the world is changing faster than we are. Political and economic uncertainty with fraud and corruption having taken a toll, and our industry trying to cope with the consequences. COVID-19, which will materially change how we work and interact with one another. We are finding that our members seem to be less interested and are involved in the activities of the Institute. If we look at the global environment, while we have been functioning as usual, the world has been changing. Numerous global dynamics are simultaneously impacting how we interact, communicate, operate, and work or simply exist. And these changes are now occurring at an alarming rate. At the same time, we're having to face political infighting, legislative uncertainty, and economic barriers. People are finding themselves increasingly concerned with what is in store for them. And one consequence of this is that our society has become more polarized, with higher levels of prejudice being encountered all over the show. COVID-19 has materially affected the activities and finances of the business, organizations, all their stakeholders. It is unlikely that we will continue to work and engage with one another in the same way when this pandemic eventually subsides. Our membership is dwindling. This graph shows the gradual reduction in fee-paying members over the past 5 years. When analysing our gender mix, we see that it is primarily our male members from the associate and member categories that are in fact leaving. In addition, we don't seem to have attracted more female members over this period. The consequence of reduced attendance at our conferences translates to lower levels of income. And over the past 7 years, we have been consuming more money than we have managed to raise. SAIMM has had to take out 18.5 million from savings, and this is not sustainable. I reiterate, SAIMM is on a burning platform, and we cannot continue to do things the same way as we have in the past. We need to make changes in how we operate while keeping in mind the primary purpose of SAIMM. Our website says that we exist to identify the needs of our members, to ensure that their requirements for knowledge are satisfied, to represent and promote their interests. The important question, however, is whether our view of these needs is the same as yours. We have conducted a series of workshops to firstly reaffirm the needs of our members so as to understand exactly where we have been going wrong, and then secondly to develop and implement an appropriate strategy for change. Our stated reasons for doing this were to ensure that the Institute remains current and relevant to our members, to embrace modernization of the industry, to support and enhance the professional needs and development of our members, to extend our reach and influence, to increase our membership, and to enhance our networks. The dramatic onset and impact of COVID-19 has caused us to accelerate our efforts, and SAIMM is now close to approving a strategy with a roadmap for implementation. It is based on these 5 pillars of value, and champions have been assigned to each to ensure progress. Value propositions have been developed for each one of them for us to use as we engage with our members and many other stakeholders to secure their support and increase the involvement with SAIMM. We have identified improving ethical awareness as a key means of ensuring that members, and indeed all of our stakeholders, both see and experience the value of being associated with us. Our value proposition for this pillar of value makes specific reference to ethical leadership. Sustained ethical conduct by our members will ensure that we can work and live in an environment where we are inspired by one another and respected by others, including our broader society. We can achieve this by actually promoting ethical awareness, practicing it, and making it real and visible to both internal and external stakeholders. We started looking at how best to enhance ethical awareness by revisiting our code of ethics, which, although sufficient to address past ethical failings, did not necessarily provide sufficient guidance regarding our values and principles in the context of today's evolving and increasingly complex world. We have therefore revised our code of ethics so that it now has more of a value-based leaning than that of a rules-based code. The revised code contains a short list of specific principles and value statements to guide our behavior and the decisions we make. They are an important reference point for us to use both at work and in our broader society. It was our intention that the content of the code should avoid being specific so as to prevent inadvertent limitation of the application of the ethical and behavioral principles contained therein. In interpreting the code, both ethical and behavioral principles must be applied to advance and promote the spirit and the letter of our code. So why leadership, morals, and ethics? We now have a set of principles and value statements, and we are obligated as members of SAIMM to maintain the highest professional standards. However, we have to ask ourselves if this is enough to improve ethical awareness. People are not always transparent, and sometimes the way forward is not very clear. So we cannot simply adopt a checklist mentality when making ethical decisions. We need to be mindful of the implication of our decisions and actions in society, and perhaps also ask ourselves, is it enough to simply follow a list of ethical guidelines? Should we not care enough and be courageous enough as individuals to try and influence a better outcome whenever we can? Would we be comfortable with ourselves when we fail to act while knowing that we could and should have? Should we not also be more attuned to what is right and wrong from a moral point of view? Do we as individuals stand up and speak up when we see things are wrong? We know it happens with regular reports of fraud and corruption in many areas, including high-profile companies that we encounter. The role of ethics in the workplace and in broader society has been receiving increased attention around the world following the Enron debacle in 2001. We have since seen a number of other businesses in the private sector incurring enormous reputational damage over allegations of corruption and corporate collusion. Repeated reports of these types of transgressions do not only contribute to increasing the incidence of unethical behavior across all levels of our society, but also negatively influence investor confidence due to their perceptions of the state of corruption in our country. Governance failures also point to low levels of ethical leadership. This chart shows where we rank out of 180 countries on the Global Corruption Index. South Africa has slipped to the 70th position on the slope of corruption. We should arguably be up in the area of Botswana or even Chile. Business for South Africa, which comprises the Black Business Council and Business Unity South Africa, have been working hard on plans for economic reform, but they are likely to face an uphill battle given these perceptions. There are, of course, numerous other problems that have emerged as a result of unethical behavior in South Africa. So perhaps a code of ethics, although necessary, is simply not enough. While useful as a general guide for how people should act, they don't seem to be sufficient to ensure ethical conduct. There are clearly people who are capable of easily circumventing rules for personal gain, and public complacency around the importance of personal morals or ethical principles does not help in this regard. It is my contention that if there were higher levels of ethical awareness amongst the general public in South Africa, we would likely see many more people making the effort to influence those around them to make better choices, to do what is right. These people would be exercising ethical leadership, and in the moment and when it counts. People capable of leading in this way are more often than not also guided by morals and by their personal sense of what is right and wrong. However, we need to appreciate the difference between morals and ethics to be able to effectively and discerningly weigh out right from wrong. These words are often used interchangeably. They both relate to right and wrong, but actually mean different things. Morals are principles upon which our judgments regarding right and wrong are based. They are mostly shaped by our social, cultural, or religious beliefs. While unlikely to be the same for people from different social, cultural, or religious environments, they don't usually change when a person operates different context. A decision on right or wrong from a moral perspective may not always appear rational. We need to remember that when people act according to their morals, they are doing what they personally believe to be right. For example, eating meat may be immoral in some cultures, but perfectly acceptable in others. Kissing or holding hands in public may be a problem in some places, but not in others. Certain attire in a place of worship may not be acceptable in another, where different views of morality exist. While our personal notions of right and wrong are often inherited and accepted without question, we have to understand that diversity is here to stay, and we all need to try and understand one another's views. Ethics, on the other hand, are more practical than morals. They are a set of values and principles of conduct that tell us how to behave or act in a social system, like a workplace, organization, or a profession. They are consistent in the same context, but can vary depending on the social system to which they apply. Ethics are also not always moral, and conflict can occur. For instance, a doctor may agree with views on euthanasia, but can't act due to his code of ethics. A person chooses not to steal because he could go to jail, not because he actually believes the stealing is wrong. A lawyer must defend his client despite knowing that the client is guilty. We all usually want to act ethically, even if rules don't agree with our own feelings, because we don't really want our peers to judge us. This means that there will be times when we will need to compromise on our personal morals. Ethics can therefore be considered as a rational way of choosing between competing moral principles, or when there is not a clear right or wrong answer. In other words, they are how we behave beyond the morals we practice. Ethical decision-making requires us to consider decisions from a different perspective, so that we can clearly see the bigger issues and make decisions that also minimize unintended consequences. So let's talk ethical leadership. Wikipedia says, ethical leadership is leadership that is directed by respect for ethical beliefs and values, and for the dignity and rights of others. Broadly speaking, ethical leaders create spaces where people are more tolerant, understanding, and respectful of each other. They usually seek to increase ethical awareness because this encourages people to self-regulate. They are more able to embrace the levels of diversity that have come with globalization. And they are concerned with moral development, virtuous behavior, and will usually contribute to developing a more cohesive society. Their decisions and actions are primarily guided by principles of respect, fairness, honesty, integrity, and accountability, with a deep sense of mission to serve other people and not narrow individual interests. Imagine for a minute that you're in the grocery store and you encounter someone verbally abusing a cleaner. Your moral compass may remind you that this is not right, but whether or not you act will depend on your character. The ethical leader would step in, seek help, or call the store manager. We should all actively promote and contribute to increasing awareness around the importance of ethical conduct and ethical leadership, whenever and wherever the opportunity arises. Developing and maintaining this type of culture of integrity within SAIMM may arguably be the single most important thing we can do to promote the real value of our organization and the benefits that we can bring to the mining industry and to our country. The mining industry contributed about 8% to South Africa's GDP and about a third of our exports last year. It also employed some 450,000 people directly. But when the multiplier effect is taken into account, it is responsible for many more jobs. It is a significant industry, and it would play a material larger role in economic reform if we were to explore more and address our infrastructural bottlenecks. SAIMM is part and parcel of this industry, and our members can contribute to changing the culture of our industry for the better. We should do this by living and talking ethics so that we build trust and partnerships that will encourage the broader community to start working collaboratively. We will also be better positioned then to lead ethically and in the moment when it counts. This type of behavior will contribute to enhanced governance in the workplace and at a corporate level in the mining industry. So what will it take for any one of us to be able to stand up and lead in the moment? Do we need to first be appointed or provided with the authority to lead? No. Leadership has nothing to do with position. Leaders exist in the moment. And it is in that moment when leadership is actually required. Each and every one of us, however quiet or reserved, has the potential to lead if we care enough about the people around us. We would only need to stand up when we actually see an opportunity or threat to people that we are with. There are three simple levers that we need to pull if we wish to successfully lead in the moment. The first lever relates to knowing something that the people you are with don't. It may be something that could harm them or an opportunity for them to choose an alternative course of action for their benefit. The second lever relates to having the courage to act because you effectively risk losing the support of the people around you and the ones that you're trying to lead. This assumes that you actually care for the people that you are with. And most importantly, the third lever is about having the ability or skill to change the minds of those people who do not know what you know at a rate that they can absorb. Because if you don't get this right, you're likely to fail in your efforts to influence an alternative decision or course of action. And many people do fail, but at least they had the conviction and courage to stand up when it mattered. Interestingly, though, if you pay attention to what people are talking about on social media, you will notice that people generally agree that a lack of ethics is not desirable. And so you may encounter more support than you expect. Our code of ethics provides for the suspension or expulsion of members, but this does not prevent us from negative exposure as a consequence of unethical behavior. Unethical behavior can damage the SAIMM brand and lower the levels of trust and cohesion within SAIMM. And a consequence of this may be reduced participation and attendance at activities. There are situations where rules are unclear, non-existent, not applicable, or even in conflict with one another. And we may need to proactively act to prevent possible violations when we see someone making or about to make poor choices. If we do, we should feel obligated to speak up, but we may feel unsure of what to do or how to act. In recognition of this, SAIMM's office manager can be contacted when a member wishes to seek the advice of a peer. Our intranet could also provide phone numbers of peers who have made themselves available to be contacted for this type of advice. In addition, a hotline will be established where questions or concerns can be raised through an internal link hosted by an external service provider to keep information confidential, but to the extent that permitted by law. SAIMM is also looking at establishing a list of frequently asked questions for members who may have a question regarding process or procedure. These tools have been contemplated to only serve as a means for us to obtain guidance as opposed to ignoring a situation. The intention is not to police, but to try and proactively prevent violations before they occur. I trust that I've clarified the difference between ethics and morals and explained the essence of leading in the moment. I reiterate that increased ethical awareness will make it easier for honest, ethical people to engage in ethical leadership, and this is why ethics matter. It will also promote ethical thinking and behavioral patterns among our members, encourage us to apply our minds with integrity and sincerity in the moment, inspire principled behavior under a wide range of conditions, motivate us to mentor and guide our peers in honorable practices, commit us to uphold and enhance the honesty, honor, integrity, and dignity of our profession. So in closing, Council cannot raise the level of ethical awareness on its own. We need the collective effort and support of all SAIMM members to lead by example, and whenever possible, to influence both their peers and our broader society to make the right choices. Every member that uses an opportunity to do the right thing and lead ethically in the moment will contribute materially to enhancing the image and presence of both South Africa and SAIMM. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Vaughan. And as Edward just posted in our Q&A pane, I think this was a brilliant presidential address, and it's especially applicable to 2020. So with that, I think I want to wish you luck with your year ahead, and I want you to please know that we are all there to support you in this difficult year lying ahead of SAIMM. And then I would like to thank all 130 of our delegates that attended our AGM today. Thank you for joining us for our very first virtual online AGM. And with that, I declare the AGM officially closed. At this stage, it's customary to invite our members and guests to adjourn to the adjoining room for refreshments. But unfortunately today, I need to invite you to have refreshments in the comfort of your own home. And please enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.